Hello everyone, welcome. I hope you're all doing well, and I'm glad you're here for another lesson in our ongoing French course. So in this lesson, we are going to look at the irregular verb mettre, a very important verb, an essential verb for basic French, and it happens to be an irregular verb. So it's imperative that you just memorize the forms through practice. Remember, native speakers have to memorize through practice. There's just really no way around it. The only way to build skill in a language is through practice. So let's take a look at the forms. Let's learn the forms. The first form here is je mets. Je mets. Notice the consonants here are not pronounced. Je mets. I put. Tu. You put. Tu mets. Exact same form, exact same pronunciation. Tu mets. Je mets, tu mets. Je mets, tu mets. Il, elle, on. Met. So he puts, she puts, one puts. Il met, elle met, on met. So we have met, all pronounced the same. Nous. Now there's going to be a change here in the sound, or in the vowel. So the pronunciation will change. So we have me for nous. We have nous mettons. Nous mettons. Nous mettons. We put. Vous, you put. Vous mettez. Vous mettez. And then finally, they put. Il, elle, met. Il, elle, met. So remember the pronunciation. Me, mettons, mettez, met. Do you hear the sound change of the vowel here? Me, mettons. Me, mettons. Me, mettons, mettez, met. Okay, so now that we know the verb, let's look at some simple examples with the verb mettre. So the meaning to put, well, when we use the verb put, we put something, a book, un livre, les assiettes, the plates, as in plates for eating, une tasse, a cup. So we put that something and we put it somewhere. So in this case, we have on the table, sur la table, close to the lamp, près de la lampe. Okay, so let's put it all together. If I want to say I put a book on the table, I would say je mets un livre sur la table. I put the plates on the table. Je mets les assiettes sur la table. I put a cup on the table. Je mets une tasse sur la table. If I want to say I put a book close to the lamp, then I would say je mets un livre près de la lampe. I put the plates close to the lamp. Je mets les assiettes près de la lampe. I put a cup close to the lamp. Je mets une tasse près de la lampe. The other meaning of the verb mettre is to put on, as in to put on an article of clothing. So we have some articles of clothing here. Un pull. Be sure to round your lips here when you're pronouncing this. Pull, un pull. If you don't round your lips, you might end up saying poule, which is a chicken or a hen. So be careful with that. Un pull. A coat, un manteau, and a hat, un chapeau. So if I want to say I put on a pullover, je mets un pull. I put on a coat, je mets un manteau. I put on a hat, je mets un chapeau. One final thing that I'd like to mention about the verb mettre, meaning to put on, and this is a question that usually arises with students that speak English as a first language, is the idea of put on. They often want to provide another word for on, but you have to know that it's understood in the verb itself. So mettre can mean to put, as in put something somewhere. It can also mean to put on, as in to put on an item of clothing, and the on is understood. So when you say je mets un pull, you're not saying I put a pullover, you're saying I put on. The on is understood. Je mets un pull. And there you have it, the verb mettre, a brief introduction. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this helpful, I would appreciate it very much if you'd give it a like, perhaps a hype. To go on to the next lesson, click on the video that appears here on your screen. See you soon. À bientôt.